Would you tell a story, if it isn't too painful, of something that involved you in a wheelchair? Are you sick of that? Can you stand it?
You mean when I broke my foot between the matinee and the evening performance in Los Angeles? Is that what you're thinking of?
Constant
yes, I play the constant wife. And I went out for a bite to eat after the matinee. And as I walked back to the theater, for some reason, I can't believe it, I had eaten too much, but I did something to my foot, slipped like that, and I could hear it crack, and sure enough, I was in pain, and I dragged myself to the theater, and the company manager and everybody said, my God, we have to bring her to the hospital and get an x-ray because it might be broken. I came to the hospital and it was broken. And he put me in plaster. And I was brought back to the theater where my understudy stood, all dressed in my clothes and my wig, and she was ready to go on. And then the box office people came up to me and said, you realize that if you are not playing, half of the audience will want their money back, and we don't have that money to give them back. So, if you are, once you are in plaster, you're up to here, it doesn't really hurt anymore. So they didn't get the wheelchair in time for the first act. I was carried in on a chair similar like this, and I shall never forget the eyes of my understudy. And I passed her and I said, you have the worst job in the world. And she said, yes. I was carried in and placed on the stage. And it just so happened to be a play where I could sit in a wheelchair. Of course, it would have been better if I could have moved around, but it was possible to play it sitting down all the time. When we came to the third act, they had found a wheelchair. So I was now placed in a wheelchair. And I rolled myself in, and I was very busy with this. I'd never been in a wheelchair before, so you wheeled yourself in, and then you have to put brakes on. And in the middle of all this, I looked at my leading man, and I said, I'm terribly sorry, I've forgotten the dialogue.
Out loud? So
just said it out loud. The whole audience heard it. Of course, the audiences liked it because this was a happening. It was something that you don't see on television. No. And there I was so I tried to remember the dialogue, and then I had to wheel myself out of the living room. That was the end of the play. It wasn't possible that the butler could come in and wheel me out. So I started to wheel me out, and I almost went into the audiences, right down into the footlights. Oh. And of course, we laughed all the way through it. It was a very gay evening.
Is it true that you hit the door on both sides trying to get out?
Yes, it was very difficult. Then the day after, I had a little practice with the wheelchair. So I played the rest of Los Angeles in a wheelchair. Then I went to Denver and played in a wheelchair. And then when I came to Boston, I could get out of the wheelchair, but I couldn't put two shoes on, only one. So the stage manager used to go out and say that she's very sorry, but you have to forgive her. She has just one shoe on. The other foot is too big to get into the shoe. So I limped through Boston. And then somebody said, but are you not in the wheelchair any longer? And I said, no, I'm out of the wheelchair now. And are you playing with two shoes? And I said, yes, now I can play with two shoes. I look perfectly normal. Oh, isn't it too bad? They were so looking forward to it. I almost thought I'd keep it in when I came to New York.
I was going to say, it's a wonder someone didn't say keep it in. When your personal life is going badly, as it always seems to be with people in the business, this is an odd, I never asked anyone this before, but is it more comforting to be in a play at that time or in a movie?
Oh, I wouldn't know if one or the other is better or worse.
I'll tell you why I ask that, because it seems to me, I did a play on Broadway, and I must come back to that for 1 second, but you looked forward to that 2 hours a day when everything was predictable, and you knew how it was going to work out. And there was something comforting about knowing that for those 2 hours, everything would resolve itself in some way or the other. Yes, it's the best
medicine in the world. As I was going to say, yes, it is the best medicine, because you can be sick, you can have all kinds of problems, you can have fever, the doctor tells you to go to bed, but if you belong to the professional people and those troopers, they will go on the stage half dead.
Yes.
And when they come out of the show, they feel much better. And even personal sorrows and whatever you have, you just have to get rid of it because you must concentrate on the person you're playing. You can't go on thinking about, oh my God, think about me. You have to play the part. And if you can do that and get out of yourself, you see, that is the best thing possible. You feel much better afterwards.
That is remarkable, isn't it? You can know you're coming down with the flu, and that if you stayed home, you would be miserable.
Yes.
And you go do the performance, and you're miraculously cured.
Yes.
Perhaps temporarily, but at least it does work. Something I've never forgotten, of course, was the sort of dramatic moment at the Academy Awards, not your first time there, when you did something unthinkable. You said, in fact, that another actress deserved the award, and it seemed was totally convincing. If it wasn't true, then you deserve another award for your performance there. But,
no, I was very sincere because I had done Murder on the Orient Express, and it was just that one little scene. Now, Sidney Lumet, who directed it, was very clever, or shall I say kind to me, because he stayed with the camera on my face all through that scene. If you cut away to another person, you see that's distracting and the other person is reacting, and after all I have Albert Finney to act with. But he was completely cut out, and he kept the camera only on me, so you saw how this poor little Swedish missionary got more and more nervous and more awkward. You could see the growing of that performance into the climax. And on that one scene, I got the Academy Award, and I felt that was very unfair because I took up Valentina Cortese, whom I had seen. There were many other. After all, there are 5 nominations, but unfortunately I hadn't seen the other 3 actresses. I saw them later, and they were very, very good too. But Valentina Cortese I had seen in Night for Day, I think it was called.
Night for Day.
Yeah, and it was such a marvelous performance, and she was so extraordinarily good, and she deserved it 100%, and it made me terribly upset when I heard my name. So that's why I was sincere when I said this should not have gone to me, it should have gone to her. I meant it.
you made history there. I suppose the 4 syllables Casablanca make you break out in a rash because everybody talks to you about it. And I remember a story you told when a show we did one time before. Well, the incredible fact that you didn't know which man you were going to win in the end, of course, is astonishing. And I know I'm sure you're tired of hearing it. And do I remember correctly that the director, was that Michael Curtiz?
Yes.
Said to you, just sort of play in the middle?
Yes, yes.
Because you didn't know which man you were...
Don't give too much to one or the other, because they hadn't decided which man she actually was in love with. It sounds unbelievable, but we were going to do 2 ends. We were going to shoot both ends, that I go with the husband and that I stay with Humphrey in Casablanca, and find some reason the husband leaves alone. We never knew what we were doing from one day to the other, so it seems very strange that that picture, of all pictures that were much better organized and written, that one with all the confusion and script written day by day, and Humphrey Bogart was very bad humor because he never knew what he was going to do next. That one became a classic. And
looks now like a perfect model is worked out as a Hitchcock film.
Yes, doesn't it?
Is there any truth to the rumor that you and Bogey, as I like to call him, having never met him, actually sat in the commissary saying, how are we going to get out of this turkey? It's going to ruin both our careers.
Well, I'm sure that we talked about it, but he usually didn't talk to anyone except the producer and the director, and then he was always bawling them out for something. He was angry all the time. He didn't talk much to me.
Really?
No, I couldn't. What could I do to help him?
Was he unapproachable?
Couldn't rewrite the dialogue.
You couldn't break the ice with the...
No.
I mean, was he a forbidding personality in that way? Hard to get?
Yes, he was very much by himself, and very much, if he talked to anybody, that was to the director and to the producer, discussing this terrible mess we were in.
But was that a kind of ego of, I don't speak to my fellow players?
No, I shouldn't think so at all. No, he was just upset. He had done The Maltese Falcon, which was an enormous success. Just before, he had done lots of wonderful movies, and then he's placed in this movie when they don't know what the next day's work should consist of. And we had very good actors, as you remember. Every small part was a top actor. And I think that helped an awful lot to put it all together, because the actors were so good.
There's a legend, and you confirmed it for me, that once, I believe, at Harvard, where they show that film every week, apparently, the sound went off, and the students chanted the dialogue.
Yes, yes. Yes, I was told. I went to see this club, Casablanca. All the photographs all over the walls and the matches, everything, Casablanca, Casablanca. And they knew the dialogue so well. So when the sound broke, two of the boys stood up and read all the dialogue for them.
That's marvelous. Can you tell me anything about Claude Rains? Does he know how much we film fans loved him, I wonder? Did he?
I don't know if
Was he a happy man?
I didn't get to know him either. Yeah. There are some people that you always stay kind of, it's working and you read the dialogue, and it's not that they're show off or stand off or whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. They just want to have their private life. They pull down a curtain. They are on this side, you are there. They'll put up the curtain a little bit to act with you, but then down it goes again. Mm-hmm. You never get to know them privately. I never got to know Leslie Howard privately, that I worked with, my first leading man in Intermezzo. There are many like that.
But the life of Hollywood
Claude Rains is one of them. He was a fine actor, and I liked him very much. But I can't remember that we ever had dinner together or saw each other privately or went to parties together.
I remember Betty Davis saying on a show of mine, somehow when Claude Rains died, she said that seemed to close the door on a certain era of fine screen acting and so on. Well, I guess
I agree that he was a great actor, but I hope that the door isn't closed for all the young people that are now trying.
No, I think she was talking about how he so symbolized an era for her, and yes. They made so many films together.
Yes, maybe they did.
So on.